where everything slid away and the images moved around in her head of their own accord, the humming kicked back in. It would be like asking her not to breathe. Lately, the whole team had reached a level of frustration that had turned the air in the room sour. Though they'd had success with the old red machine, this complex supercipher seemed impossible to break. Faith was draining fast. With her dress plastered to her back and sucking on the second salt tablet of the day, Isabel put her head down, scribbling notes on her giant piece of paper. September in Washington burned hotter than a brick oven. Thoughts of her brother Walt kept interfering with her ability to stay on task. He would have turned 25 years old today, would have been flying around somewhere in the Pacific about now, shooting down enemy planes and hooting and hollering when he landed his plane full of bullet holes on the flat top. Walt loved nothing more than the thrill of the chase. Every time she thought of him, a lump formed in her throat, and she had to fight back the tears. No one had ever, or ever would, love her more than Walt had. More than anything, Isabel wanted to get to Hawaii and see the spot where his plane plunged into the ocean. To learn more about his final days and hear the story straight from the mouths of his buddies. As if that would somehow make her feel better. She rubbed her eyes, for now she was stuck here in this hellhole of a building, either sweltering or shivering, depending on what time of year it was. At 11:30, her friend Nora waltzed in from a break, looking like the cat who'd swallowed the canary. Nora had a way of knowing things before everyone else, and Isabel was lucky enough to be stationed at the desk next to hers. "Spill the beans, lady," Isabel said quietly. Nora glanced around the room dramatically. Later. Most of the team was still out to lunch, save for a couple of girls across the room and Rawlings behind the glass in his office. "No one's even here. Tell me now." Nora came over and sat on Isabel's desk, legs crossed. She picked up a manila folder and began fanning herself, then leaned in. "I've heard from a very good source that the brass are tossing around names for the lucky, or unlucky, depending on how you look at it, crypto being sent to Pearl." Station HYPO at Pearl Harbor was one of the 2 main code-breaking units in the Pacific. Nora knew how badly Isabel wanted to be there. Isabel perked up. "Whose names are being tossed?" "That I don't know. Should I remind Rawlings to remind Feinstein that I'm interested?" "Absolutely not." "It couldn't hurt, could it?" Isabel said. "Sorry, love, but those men would just as soon send a polar bear to Hawaii as a woman," Nora said. "You seem to forget that one of the best codebreakers around is female, and the only reason most of our bosses know anything is because she taught them," Isabel said, speaking softly. This was the kind of talk that could get you moved to the basement, and Isabel did not do well in basements. "Neither of us is Agnes Driscoll, so just get it out of your head. And even Agnes is not in Hawaii," Nora whispered. "There has to be a way." "Maybe if you dug up a cache of Japanese codebooks, or said yes to Captain Smythe," Nora said with a wink. Nora and Isabel were a study in opposites. Her short red bob had been curled under and sprayed into place. Her lips painted fire engine red. She had a new man on her arm every weekend and walked around in a cloud of French lilac perfume that permeated their entire floor. "I have no interest in Captain Smythe," Isabel said. Hal Smythe was as dull as they came, at least as far as Isabel was concerned. Intelligent and handsome, but sorely lacking any charisma and the ability to make her laugh, one of her main prerequisites in a man. She had no time to waste on uninteresting men, or men in general for that matter. There were codes to be cracked and enemies to be defeated. "Well then, you'd better pull off something big," Nora said. 3. The Cellar. Indiana, March 1925. 5-year-old Isabel Cooper had just discovered a fuzzy caterpillar in her backyard and was bent over inspecting its black and yellow pattern when a wall of black blotted the sun from the sky. Always a perceptive child, she looked to the source of the darkness. Clouds had bunched and gathered on the far horizon, the color of gunmetal and cinder and ash. Wind swirled her hair in circles. Isabel ran inside as fast as her scrawny legs would carry her. "Walter, come look! Something weird is happening to the sky," she yelled, letting the screen door bang behind her. Walter had just returned home from school and was standing in the kitchen with 2 fistfuls of popcorn and more in his mouth.